The first thing people always ask me is why I didn't scream, why I didn't fight back, why when that iron gate slammed shut behind me and the folder slid across the ground to my feet, I didn't lose my mind. The truth is simple and kind of ugly. I'd been trained not to. When you grow up learning that silence keeps the roof over your head, you don't suddenly find your voice just because the moment is dramatic. You kneel, you listen, you breathe, and you tell yourself you'll survive this too. The papers at my feet weren't love letters or blessings, they were a marriage contract. Already signed, already stamped. My suitcase followed, tossed like an afterthought, clothes spilling onto concrete. Across the street, neighbors pretended not to see. Someone whispered a word I already knew. Madman. I looked up once, just once, and saw the man waiting in the car. Still, calm, watching. And in that instant, I knew my life was being traded like a debt no one wanted to talk about. I didn't always live like this. Before my father died, our house had noise-warmth doors that stayed unlocked. He believed in routine and honesty and doing the right thing even when it cost more. The day we buried him, the sky was cruelly beautiful. People said kind things. They talked about legacy. They didn't talk about what happens to a daughter when the wrong person inherits control. My stepmother, Evelyn, cried louder than anyone. She clung to the coffin, collapsed into neighbors' arms, played grief like a performance she'd rehearsed. I stood behind her, quiet, already sensing the shift. Grief has weight. It presses on rooms, on people, and once it settled, nothing was the same. Doors locked, accounts changed, conversations stopped when I entered. I was told I was too young to understand, even though I was 22 and understood exactly what was happening. Slowly, carefully, I became a guest in my own childhood home. I worked for my meals. I earned permission to exist. And I stayed because of my little brother Noah. Because he still believed adults were safe. Because someone had to stand between him and the truth. I learned how to disappear. How to take correction without reacting. How to fold anger into neat, invisible corners. I had dreams, small ones. Sewing, designing, opening a tiny shop someday. Evelyn laughed when she found my sketches. Dreams don't pay bills, she said, tearing the page. Obedience does. Then the phone calls started. Late nights, whispered arguments, money that vanished as fast as it appeared. I felt it before I heard it. Something was wrong. One night I caught a sentence through the wall that stopped my heart cold. "I have collateral," Evelyn said. "I always do." The next morning she called me into the sitting room, curtains drawn like she didn't want the house listening. She talked about responsibility, about family, about sacrifice. And then she said his name. Marcus Hale. Everyone knew the rumors. The man who talked to himself. The man with violent episodes. The man people crossed the street to avoid. I said no. I said it out loud. She smiled and mentioned Noah's school fees. And just like that, the choice was gone. When I met Marcus, I expected chaos. Instead, I saw control. He was taller than I imagined, broad-shouldered, neatly dressed. His eyes were sharp, calculating, not lost. He paced, muttered, slammed a hand into the wall just hard enough to be convincing. Evelyn watched with satisfaction. And then he looked at me and said, clearly, "I won't hurt you." I believed him, even though I couldn't explain why. The wedding was quick, joyless, transactional. 2 witnesses who wouldn't meet my eyes. A registrar who wanted to be done. The moment the papers were signed, Marcus shifted. The performance dropped. His breathing steadied. His gaze cleared. Evelyn didn't notice. She never looked closely at anything that didn't serve her. Our house was small, clean, intentionally forgettable. The kind of place meant to keep people contained. That first night, Marcus told me the rules. I could have the bedroom, he'd sleep on the couch, he wouldn't touch me, he wouldn't control me, and then he apologized. Over the next days, I watched the split. In public, he was erratic, unpredictable. People feared him, and fear kept questions away. At home, he was methodical, quiet, precise. He listened. Really listened. And I started noticing things that didn't add up. Locked doors, midnight calls, a room he never entered when I was watching. Curiosity gets dangerous when you're used to surviving. But one afternoon, I opened the door. There were no chains, no weapons, just files, financial records, maps, names connected by lines, and a logo I recognized from headlines I'd never paid attention to before. Hale Industries. The man the city whispered about wasn't broken. He was hiding. When Marcus found me there, he didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He told me the truth finally. He let the rumors grow because they made him invisible. Because being underestimated was safer than being seen. His sister had tried to expose a network built on debt coercion, forced marriages. She'd been silenced. He stayed alive by becoming something people dismissed. And me. I wasn't part of the plan. I was leverage. Evelyn thought she controlled. From there, everything escalated. My income vanished. Friends pulled away. Whispers followed me through markets and streets. Evelyn wanted Marcus to snap. She sent people to provoke him. She wanted proof. And every time he held the line. The breaking point came when I found my father's medical records. Altered signatures. Changed diagnoses. A death rewritten for convenience. He hadn't just died. He'd been erased. When I confronted Evelyn, she didn't deny it. She laughed. Told me truth only mattered if someone listened. She threatened Noah. Again. That was when Marcus stopped pretending. The exposure wasn't loud. It wasn't cinematic. It was careful. Timed. Documents sent to the right people. Audits triggered. And at a public event meant to legitimize Evelyn's deals, Marcus stepped forward. Calm. Unmasked. "My name isn't what you think," he said. And neither is this story. Screens lit up. Evidence replaced rumors. Timelines replaced gossip. Evelyn's smile cracked in real time. She wasn't dragged away in handcuffs that night. Justice is rarely that neat. But her protection vanished. And without it, she was just another person with too many questions to answer. The aftermath was messy. Investigations, headlines, long nights. But Noah stayed in school. My father's name was cleared. And for the first time, my life belonged to me. I opened a small sewing studio. Nothing fancy. Sunlight through the window. A machine that hummed steady and familiar. Marcus didn't try to save me. He didn't try to buy my forgiveness. He let me choose. People still argue about our story. About whether deception is ever justified. About power and fear and silence. And maybe that's the point. So let me ask you this. When you see someone labeled dangerous, broken, disposable, who benefits from that story? And when silence feels safer than truth, who's paying the price? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you stand, right or wrong.